Hey guys, welcome back to Rabbit Motor Works. We're back working on the Cutlass today, and our episode today is going to be about trying to get the top end of the motor up to date. We've got some valve covers to change, we've been painting brackets, all kinds of fun stuff. Plus we'll start digging into that quarter panel and welding on the patch panel, so stay tuned. Okay, so if you take a look at the motor, I did another cleaning and got a lot more of the grease off of it, and I used purple power. So I've been running the gambit of super clean, simple green, purple power. So I don't know what your guys' chemical of choice is, but you gotta use purple power carefully because it can definitely start to hurt the paint and everything else. But I think it looks a lot better. It's taken off a majority of all the oil and the leaking valve cover gaskets. I cleaned all that up as well too. So I've got all the parts that I need to start doing that job, and now I think we're in a good spot to be able to start taking that down. Other things like, you know, the coil's kind of rusty, so anything I'm going to start getting into, you know, over time I'll keep continuing to paint some of the items. I've been using a litany of different paints on the brackets and related. So the biggest thing I've been using for everything, like the air cleaner and everything else, was the satin protective enamel rust-oleum. This is really good stuff. I got it read about it on the forums as well too, and a lot of people are using this for restoring the brackets as it's not too high of a gloss. And then I've got a bunch of other material as well too. I also decided to paint the tips of the dipsticks just to give those a refresh as well too, as they were all rusted. So everything that's, you know, was painted, has been painted, is you know, something that's going to need to get refreshed. Here's all our parts. I got the grommets from Dorman for the valve covers. I got a new breather, and I also got a new PCV valve. Gaskets. I bought a carburetor repair kit. We'll do that eventually at some point in time. And then I've been mocking out the patch panel. I'll have to make some cuts on it. So, and we started putting a punch list together as well. There's quite a lot of stuff on there, and the stuff that I'm working on actually today isn't even on that list. So it's like one of those things where you keep pulling one thing off to do another thing, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. But let's get into taking those valve cover gaskets off, replacing those, and starting to do more of the top end of the motor. Okay guys, got the valve cover gaskets, or the valve covers off, and I think you can see this side's got some carbon buildup on top of the rockers and inside of the head. So that's the PCV valve side. The PCV valve seems to be okay. We're going to replace it. That hose seems kind of deteriorated as well. This side looks a little better. Doesn't seem to have as much material laying around. But either way, for an original engine with X amount of miles on it, this is pretty good. There seems to just be some miscellaneous chunks of valve cover or carbon or related. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to take these off. I did kind of twirl the push rods as well too, just to make sure that they're nice and straight, and when I moved them around they seem like they've got that. But other than that, the valve covers came off pretty nicely. As you can see, this is the one that's got the buildup, and this one's pretty clear. So pretty obvious that we've got some sludge and other items that we've got to clean up. So we'll do that now that we've got it off. You know, I'll definitely be running the motor and probably do some kind of maybe a quart of transmission fluid through it as well too at some point, just to kind of help clean the internals a bit. But for the age of the vehicle and how many miles this has got on it, that's not bad at all. I was anticipating that there might be rust inside it, but I don't see any of that, so that's awesome. Everything seems to have at least been well lubricated. So here's the breather as well too. This thing's pretty gunked, and I'm sure it's not doing its job either to keep crankcase ventilation going. So all these little things are what's going to make this motor breathe a lot more healthy and put out the horsepower that we're looking for out of this rig. So all right, so now it's cleanup phase. So we'll start cleaning up these valve covers and get those all prepped and ready to put the gaskets back on, and I'll also start doing some cleanup on this side. I'll probably use the shop vac and vacuum out some of that stuff with a nice nylon brush, just to kind of loosen stuff up and vac it up. So there you go. It's always fun breaking stuff apart. So let's keep pushing forward. All right, so I've got my garbage bag lined oil pan, and we'll just start breaking off. I think this, yeah, that's petrified cork, I believe. So yeah, I wonder what year these were done. So comes off pretty easily. Okay, that's one. And here's our nasty one. Got a couple of pieces here. Okay guys, I've pretty much got the valve covers all cleaned up, and I've got the new grommets installed. We've got all these elbows, and then we've got the new PCV valve. So that bad boy goes here, and interesting enough, one of those goes on the hose end and one of them goes on this end here. So this basically sits in here, and so I did try to lube these up with some silicone, and basically pushing this in place now. Okay, so there we go, with some help of our silicone. That's a brand new breather, and then this one here as well too, that's the PCV. So yeah, these are night and day difference from that. And then I did order some new PCV valve hose. That's on the way from O'Reilly. And so at least I can bolt these up and get this together. Additionally, I've finished my brackets, and those are all ready to bolt on as well too. So we're making progress. So let's get the valve covers back on the rig. Okay guys, we got nice valve covers with new gaskets back on the rig. That looks sharp, and these rubber pieces are great. We will pick up our PCV valve hose from O'Reilly later today and put that on. Now I can kind of start tying down some of this wiring harness to the valve covers, but man, it's nice to have everything clean. And the other thing that we'll start to do is put the brackets back on, and so let's do that and get that together. And following all that, we've got hose work to do too, but I think I'm gonna get it back together and then start testing the charging system, and check out that voltage regulator, as a subscriber mentioned. We might have a overcharging issue. So one of the things I also noticed with this thing is it seems to be like bubbling rust. So I'm wondering if like there's got wet inside or something. I don't know. Either way, I'm sure that thing could potentially be ready for replacement. But man, that motor looks so much better. The more and more that I start taking apart and cleaning things, the nicer it gets cleaned up, and I just can't wait to get rid of that red heater hose. So that'll really bring some originality back and make it look a lot cleaner and dressed up. So let's get those brackets on. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what the brackets look like. Nice freshly painted black. The thing I'm noticing with them though is I think they need a second coat, as I'm seeing some of the primer come through, and I ran out of the satin black, but right here it's still kind of like, I think it needs a better coat. So rather than put them on hastily, I'm gonna go get another can of satin black, put those on. I'm happy to wait, and that'll allow me to focus on some other things, like going back to the fender. So let's start to do some of the work there and shift production there. Okay guys, day 2, and I've got the brackets with a second coat of paint on the motor. They look great. Things are really starting to turn around in this. I scuffed up some of the air conditioning stuff with some steel wool too, so that's looking nicer. Just everything a touch turns to magic, as she said. Good police tune. Every little thing she does is magic, I think is how that goes. I've been playing around with my welder and doing a little learning. I put up another video on just that, if you guys want to take a look at it specifically. And we're going to start doing some work on the quarter panel, and I'm going to start making some cuts on the patch panel to weld on the end. Then I was also at O'Reilly yesterday, and I picked up some new Evap line for the charcoal canister, in which I also bought another replacement charcoal canister, because when I took this one apart, about a salt shaker's worth of granules came out of it, and then looking inside of this, there's nothing left in it. So that and a pretty shoddy filter I did clean out, and this is the mount for it that goes in the upper fender well once you take the fender off, and that's what I ended up doing. So this is all restored and painted. Those are the old Evap lines, which were all cracked. And then I had to take this one and modify it a little bit, and I basically took a utility knife and cleaned up the edge so that it fits inside of the mount. So that Evap stuff is definitely something we'll put back on once we get the fender done too. But it's all those little things of trying to stay up on getting everything on the motor replaced, including all the rubber lines. Yeah, so let's start working on this quarter panel, cutting this up and getting that ready to attach onto the fender with our welder. So yay. Okay guys, I've been getting handy with the grinder, and I think I've got the patch panel where it needs to be. I've got to do a little bit of work lining it up, probably with another vice grip or two, before I start tacking it on. And I also have some weld-through primer. There is a little bit of chewy rust up in here. I don't know if I'm going to do a whole lot to it, other than maybe do some rust converter with it to kind of slow it down. I don't think it's going to impact the overall. I am in California, as you guys can see, so I'm not in a snowy climate by any means either. So okay guys, getting handy and cutting off our patch panel, and look at that. We got a nice new bottom of our quarter. So that fender is looking sweet, and I've just got a small vice grip on it to hold it for now. But it's getting where it needs to be. Of course, this will get clamped down, and then I'll dolly it out as needed. But it's getting close to getting near welding, and it's exciting. So it's just a lot of finagling and trying to weld, or trying to get the right cut set up for it, and you know, basically get it aligned. So I'll do a little bit more just to make sure it's correct before I weld it together, and I may even put some screws in it. But I think I'll end up doing some plug welds to a couple of these, as there was a couple of spot welds here previously. So that'll go to the material here to kind of clamp it together. I'll probably put maybe a plug weld or two on the side. This is really the inner structural part of the fender, and then the rest of it just kind of gets tied in. I hope it comes together nicely. It looks like it's getting there. And the other thing I noticed as well too is I've got some holes here from the trim, and then these are rounded out larger for the press-in emblems, which I didn't really like because the Cutlass emblem doesn't really cover these large holes. So somebody, I think, rounded these out. So I might need to get a copper backing plate to basically tack on the back here. And then that'll allow me to basically fill some weld into those holes too. So, but I am making progress. So we'll see if we can get set up and do some welding next. Okay guys, so this is pretty good stuff. This Seymour PVE, it's a gray weld-through primer. And so I basically hit that with weld-through primer. I did scuff this down too and hit this. I'm gonna tack these and fill these up as well too. And I also took our patch panel, and that's been hit with weld-through primer now too. So it's starting to come together, and that will be, well, let's get her on there. Here we go. So that's what's going to happen there. And then of course after we're done welding it, we'll scuff it up and prep it for filler next. But yeah, I'm trying this weld-through primer out just to make sure that we've got some kind of a good galvanic coating underneath. So there we go. I think we're getting close to welding. Okay guys, let's weld this thing on. Okay guys, we've got a welded panel all together. I'm learning. It's not pretty, but it's flux-core. And I think I'm gonna grind these down and try to bring that together. The cool thing is I was going through the back using the light, and I only got a couple of pinholes left here that I'm trying to fill. And trying to just find the right setting with the welder as well. So I'm going to continue to keep doing this. I think I'm going to hit this down with the flap disc a little bit and then see if I get any other pinholes I need to fill. So, but for 200 bucks for a welder, that thing does pretty dang well. And I mean, you couldn't get something like this, you know, 20 years ago. So I'm pretty happy with it. And this might lead to other bigger welders, but yeah. So let me clean this up a little bit and we'll see to get the rest of the stuff, those pinholes filled. Right on. I put the front fender back on. It's just sitting there for now. I just wanted to size it up. I got to do some adjustment alignment. I also got to cut in the bottom part of our patch so it'll sit flush to the bottom. But man, it's nice to see that fender back on the car, and so much work getting all that done. So hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. That's going to be a wrap for us today. We did a lot of work getting things ready to go back together on the front end. And I'm going to start bolting up a lot of the accessories. So please subscribe if you haven't already. Catch us in the next video as we continue to work and do more to get the restoration of the Cutlass going. And turn on your post notifications, follow me on Instagram, and thanks everybody so much for your support, and appreciate everybody watching. Peace.